Hi Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. This is your September 2016 forecast. September is such a busy month astrologically. We have 2 eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, and we also have your ruling planet Jupiter moving into Libra, which is going to be a fantastic development for you, bringing lots of opportunities for luck and expansion in social networks. But the eclipses are proving to be challenging, and they're going to provide a kind of a clean sweep or getting rid of the old in advance of the equinox, which is happening, the beginning of fall or spring, depending on where you are in the world. And on the 22nd, Mercury is also retrograde this month in your 10th house, so very pertinent to matters of career. And the eclipses are going to be in the 4th and the 10th house respectively. So let's look at these factors one by one. The 1st of September has an annular solar eclipse, which is a very powerful new moon happening in your 10th house of work, career, professions, direction. And this particular solar eclipse has challenging angles to Saturn and Neptune. So that Saturn square Neptune is another aspect which is moving out this month, but because it's part of the eclipse, its effects will linger for a bit. So let's look at how that's been affecting you. Saturn square Neptune has been affecting you in terms of restrictions, obstacles, delays, and uncertainty, and possibly clashes with authority figures. And Neptune has been in your 4th house, undermining your foundations and surety around the home and family matters. So you've been feeling quite ungrounded, demoralized, and pretty fed up with responsibilities coming your way. So the solar eclipse puts the spotlight on your career, and being a very supercharged new moon, this solar eclipse can show some dissatisfaction with your current career. You may be re-evaluating your purpose and direction and wondering if it's time to make a change, whether you're even on the right path. So at this time you'll be deciding, well, should you stay in this job? Should you look for another job? Should you change direction altogether? You may be clashing with authority figures and having difficulty pushing forward where you are. And this can of course be very frustrating, and as a result you're also just wondering if it is time for a change, for something completely new. So questioning career objectives coming up at this time, and like I said, a lot of uncertainty around, whether you've got a solid foundation to push ahead, and perhaps there's a disparity between your work and personal life, and you're spending too much time on the one or the other, or one is going very well and the other one is going badly. And this is because, this is going to come to the fore with the full moon lunar eclipse on the 16th of September. And this will be in your 4th house. So this brings the focus of things culminating or ending to the 4th house of home, family, where you feel secure and grounded. And so this is really the contrast this month. Career objectives, feeling supported, secure. And Mars and Saturn in your 1st house has been giving a lot of obstacles and hindrances to progress. So it has been a frustrating time for you. But with these things being as they are, it's really difficulties and fears and insecurities that you have to push through to find your direction, to find your calling, and to feel more established. And that's really going to be made possible by Jupiter moving into Libra in your 11th house. And it will be there for a full year. And Jupiter in Libra is your planet of luck and expansion, and it's very comfortable in the 11th house. It's a social placement for it. In Libra, Jupiter is also going to be a lot more supported by Saturn. In Virgo, there was a restrictive aspect from Saturn, and this limited a lot of the expansive effects of Jupiter. And Jupiter, of course, is Sagittarius' ruling planet, so very crucial for you. And as a result, there will have been a lot of tightening and a lot of, like I said, frustrations, delays, and things not really getting off the ground. But with Jupiter moving into Libra, this is going to be a very lucky placement for you. In the 11th house, it's going to be a very social placement for Jupiter and showing lots of possibilities for growth and expansion through your social networks. So, like I said, things moving along rather nicely in that respect. And Jupiter will be joining Venus and Libra in the 11th house this month. So already there's been some opportunities for good times with friends and for socializing in general and enjoying some of the better things in life while all this serious stuff plays out. And like I said, with Mercury going retrograde this entire month in your 10th house, you know, it really is a good time for you to reevaluate your career objectives and go over projects and decisions and, you know, perfect things that you're planning or working on. So a better time for concluding old business than starting new business. If you work for yourself, you'll want to be careful with new clients, and it's also a good time to think about how you want to market yourself and really plan and prepare the presentation for that so that you can really launch yourself when things free up. Okay, so let's look at the month of September. So like I said, that solar eclipse happening on the 1st, quite a big one for you in your 10th house. And like I said, with the challenging aspects with Saturn, has shown frustration and feeling demoralized and depressed around matters of direction, career purpose and so on. And like I said, can be clashing with authority figures per se, and you may not have been handling responsibilities very well or felt very burdened by responsibilities, like there's too many obligations, and this is going to have been a prominent theme for you this year. So, and it has been a product of this astrological influence, which is how we can see it in the economic recessions worldwide that are ongoing. So there has been a lot of onerous duties, responsibilities, and you in particular will have been questioning your career objectives and whether you want to stay where you are or whether you need to change things up. Try not to behave too immaturely and be very clear in your communication, because there's challenging aspects to Neptune in this eclipse. So someone could be misleading you or perhaps not being very clear about what they're promoting or suggesting. So you want to draw them out and make sure that they elucidate all the points and that you're as clear as possible in terms of their agendas. So like I said, a very important eclipse happening in your 10th house where Mercury is also retrograding. So revising and reviewing projects and work and business relations and contracts and making sure of all the details. And Mercury in Virgo is still able to be very efficient and focused on practical matters, so you'll be able to be very resourceful and conscientious at this time. And like I said, if you work for yourself, then think about how to promote yourself, market yourself, and look over contracts very carefully. Okay, so on the 7th of the month, the Sun will trine Pluto from your 10th to your 2nd. With this fog of confusion from the eclipse, this is a very positive aspect for feeling sure of yourself, for a sense of purpose amidst all of this. And so it's going to really push you to be resourceful and to be clear about your objectives. So like I said, you know, mine those resources and do what you can to promote yourself and to receive recognition. So an excellent aspect on the 7th for a clear agenda and a lot of energy to push it. Okay, so on the 9th of September, Jupiter goes into Libra, which is fantastic. Like I said, in Virgo, Jupiter was restricted by a difficult aspect with Saturn, but now Jupiter is going to be supported by Saturn. So this is going to show long-term sustainable growth. And for you, that's going to come about through group associations, friends, networks, socializing, so very pleasant occupations that can lead to career advancement and just growth in general. So, but it does also show opportunities for a good time this month, especially with Venus there. So a good way to let off steam given what's going on with these eclipses. Okay, so on the 10th, Saturn squares Neptune from the 1st to the 4th. So this aspect has been very pronounced for the mutable signs. So Sagittarius has felt it pretty intensely. For you, it's been between the 1st and the 4th house. So this has been a critical aspect this year. It's led to a lot of frustration, tension, confusion, demoralization, And so for you, you won't have felt like you were in a stable footing. At times you might have felt very fearful, actually, and not without reason. So like I said, dealing with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unnecessary restrictions. So at last this aspect peaks and will dissipate. So it'll be really good to move into 2016 without the Saturn-Neptune square. I mean, with the eclipses, it is going to kind of capture it for a bit, and the effects can play out over a couple of months, but overall, the aspect won't perfect again, and, you know, that fear and dread, uncertainty, those sorts of things will start to dissipate significantly, which is fantastic. Okay, and on the 11th and the 12th, there are difficult aspects between Venus and Pluto and Mercury and Mars. This can kind of scatter your influence and make you quite pushy in your relationships, and so you'll want to watch being reckless and impulsive, particularly at work, and so just watch that you don't lash out, and because you'll be feeling quite excitable at this time and possibly rather opinionated. So don't be too brash and pushy, because that's what these aspects are going to imply for you, and especially in career matters it could be a bit dicey, so just be a little bit careful. Something that you'll want to keep in mind with the full moon also. So on the 16th there's the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is happening in your 4th house. This is the house of home, family, career. So and home, family, and where you feel connected and rooted. So it opposes the house of career, so that's where the contrast is between career objectives and where you feel grounded, secure, and supported. So with things coming to a head, this could show a clash with a family member or some kind of ending with regard to family and home. You know, perhaps you come to a conclusion about something. Eclipses can seem quite karmic and fated, and there's a bit of a wild card aspect in terms of what types of changes go down. So, you know, there can be changes and new beginnings and things coming to a head in the houses of career and home. So this is where you might want to take a little bit of time out. This full moon has difficult aspects to Mars, so you'll be feeling very rash and excitable and pushy. So, you know, you want to watch out that you don't go too far, because this is the full moon has a lot of angry aspects where you overstep boundaries and where other people impinge on your boundaries also. So try and let those tempers settle. There's a favorable aspect of the full moon eclipse between Mars and Uranus, and that does favor taking a new direction. Or so if you've been feeling frustrated, there can be a bit of a push towards something new that presents itself, and that's a much better way to channel this irascible energy of Mars at this time. So look at new ways or new ventures or ways of applying yourself, or where you want to push forward and apply your energy into getting things done, because it's a very energetic aspect. And bar that, just do something exciting and fun physically, where you burn off a lot of that energy so that it doesn't get you into the hot spot. Okay, so on the 20th and to about the 23rd, Mercury will trine Pluto. And this is just prior to Mercury going direct, so this is a very good aspect for concluding business, for getting things done in a very diligent way. You know, your ideas will be very clear and defined, and you'll be able to get to the bottom of things. So this is a good time for finalizing things and pulling things together and getting to the bottom of anything that you need to in terms of issues or problems, because it's a great problem solver, before Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. So when Mercury goes direct, give it a few days and then it'll be time to launch the project that you've been working on or take on new contracts in business. And, you know, things are going to run a lot more smoothly in general, because as we know, Mercury retrograde can often show problems with electronics, problems with transport, computers, and miscommunication. And so, while I don't foresee too much of that in terms of Mercury being retrograde in Virgo, those things are a kind of a byproduct of Mercury being retrograde. So with it going direct, it's good for new business, it's good for getting your ideas off the ground, it's good for self-promotion, and so it's a good time for implementing the things that you've been working on during the retrograde period. And on the 22nd, of course, we have the equinox, and that's what these eclipses have been all about. You know, it's been cleaning house, so creating a fresh slate and for new beginnings. And like I said, these for you could possibly be in terms of career direction. So you don't necessarily have to change jobs, but perhaps you'll reevaluate your role job-wise so that you know you can expand and develop in ways that are more interesting to you and more satisfying. Okay, and then on the 23rd, the Sun will go into Libra, where it will join Jupiter in the 11th house. Also a good aspect for social connections, for luck and expansion through friends and groups, and networking. So a positive aspect where, you know, it's also very good for your mood. You'll be feeling sure of yourself, and after a month of uncertainty, that will be a welcome relief. And in your 11th house, Jupiter and the Sun together are quite a lucky aspect, so good for business opportunities also. Okay, so then the Mars is moving into Capricorn, so a lot of things shifting this month as well, and Venus moving into Scorpio, and that the month wraps up with the new moon in Libra, which is going to be a positive one for a change and a nice way to conclude the month. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And please comment below. I'd like to hear your insights. Thank you for listening.